an original MCM production.
What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? In the meantime, right, baby?
Hello, and welcome to What's Going On. Producer Martha Luff. My name is Wiley. I'm your host for today, and we are very fortunate to have two special people sharing this time with us. We have LaToya Dennis, who is a reporter with WUWM, and Teran Powell, who is the first recipient of a very special Eric Vaughn Fellowship, which was created by WUWM. Ladies, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
LaToya, let's start off with you, okay? Because this fellowship was created through WUWM, and Eric Vaughn did work there. Let me just interject a little bit about Eric's background for the one or two people in the community that may not have been familiar with him. He had over 25 years in radio service, and he had been in Milwaukee at 1290 radio station since 1991. He had also been involved in a lot of community projects, and he was a commentator on WISN and also on Black Nouveau on PBS Channel 10. He was with WUWM doing a radio show that, and it seems a community project that was really focused on a program named Precious Lives. He was the lead producer, and it focused on gunshots and an expansion of Precious Lives project. I'm sounding confusing, so what I'm going to ask of you, LaToya, is right now, please share what Precious Lives involved.
Sure. So basically, Eric was the host of a show called Precious Lives, and Precious Lives took a look at gun violence in youth in Milwaukee and how families and youth are impacted by gun violence, whether within their family, themselves, or friends. And so Eric was the host of that show, and it aired on our station, WUWM, as well as WNOV. It was produced by 371 Productions, and I believe it also appeared in the Journal Sentinel. I might be missing some of our other media partners, but that was the gist of it. So the focus was gun violence and how it impacted youth in Milwaukee. And from that, you mentioned a show, a production. There was a live component of Precious Lives where we brought together a lot of youth from the stories throughout a year-long series that we did looking at gun violence. And you could hear it from their own voices in this live performance about how gun violence had impacted their lives.
That sounds like it was very involved. How long did this project run, or is it still in place?
I'm not sure. I know that after the performance at the Pabst that they were still doing shows of this live production. I'm not sure if that's still ongoing or not, but there was, like I said, there was a year-long series about gun violence, and then at the end of that year we started this other program of bringing this live component together. And I'm not I didn't work directly on that, so I'm not sure how long it took to go from, hey, we have this idea to production, but I know it was many, many months that people on our staff, as well as 371 Productions and others, were working on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Teran, you are the first recipient of the fellowship created in Eric's name.
Yes.
Tell us about that process. What was it like? How did you know about the fellowship? How did you find out where to get information on the application process?
Yeah, I got the information. I was working at Fox 6 at the time. One of my professors from Marquette University, her name is Barbara Volbrecht, who actually worked in NPR herself. She sent me the information about it on LinkedIn and actually said, you know, I think this would be right up your alley. And I was like, is it? You know, it's radio. I had never, you know, really thought about radio. I just worked in like print journalism, but I took a radio class with her. So I'm assuming maybe I did good in that class, and that's why she, you know, told me about it. But I read up on it, read up on Eric Vaughn, and I was like, okay, you know, no prior radio experience, but I'm willing to, you know, take a step in that direction. So I submitted my application. It wasn't a long process, but long enough when you're waiting to hear back about a job. So I got through the first interview process, which LaToya was included on, and it was over the phone. And I was nervous about that. I'm like, I hope I say the right things. And I feel like they liked me, you know. I think I'm a very likable person.
Bravo.
So that went well. And they were just like, you know, keep your ears open because we'll be getting back to you in a few weeks. Longest few weeks of my life. But I got through to the second interview where I actually met the hiring committee and Faith, and to actually be in the conference room with them and having all the eyes on me, it's like, okay, take two. Let's do this again, you know. But that went well. I think everybody, you know, I think everyone liked me, got a good vibe from. I got the job, so they liked me.
Say we didn't like you at all, Teran.
No,
of course
but
we did.
Yeah.
a couple more weeks went by, you know. I got the call from Dave, the general manager, August 21st, day of the solar eclipse. I don't know if that was a sign from the universe, but no, I was happy when I got that call, and it was just like, okay, this is your time to shine, to prove yourself, show people that this is what you should be doing, it's what you want to be doing. So
Yes.
I was happy.
Okay. Now, LaToya, Teran mentioned Faith, but she was speaking of Faith Colas,
Yes, ma'am.
who was Eric Vaughn's wife, but also has a print media background herself, as well as a television background on PBS. So was everybody on the committee evaluating the applicants from the media world?
Well, the hiring committee was 3 people from WUWM. So myself, Annalise Hensel, who is now the news director, and a person by the name of Michelle Maternowski. And so we were the hiring committee, and we were all, obviously all from the media world, and we got applicants from all over the country. And Teran stood out the most, obviously, because she's now a part of our team.
All over the country.
Yes.
About how many applicants were there?
I think we did 40 phone interviews.
My gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Tell me about it.
So much for being able to have time to write your articles or to do your radio show.
For a while. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. So out of 40 phone interviews, I forget how many we brought in for a second interview, but obviously we chose Teran and Teran chose us, and so we were very excited about that and still are.
Now the fellowship covers the salary, correct?
Mm-hmm.
For how long?
So the fellowship is 1 year,
Okay.
in which it's a professional salary. I won't say exactly what it is. I don't actually know exactly what it is.
Doesn't
but
matter. It's better than minimum wage.
Yes, it's a professional salary, and I do believe you're treated just like everyone else, and so you get all the benefits. So the health insurance, the vacation time, the sick time, all of it.
Fantastic. And after that 1 year, if a permanent position is available, is that person considered, or are they expected to move on after that year?
No, if there is a permanent position, our hope is that they would apply and they would be considered amongst everyone else, obviously, because it has to
Right.
be fair.
Right.
If there is not a permanent position that's open, our plan is to have them ready to move on and help them in that process of securing employment when their time is up with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's being built into the process, for
Okay.
sure.
Teran, have you been able to do a show yet?
I've had a couple shows that air, or stories, excuse me, that have aired since I began. Only 4 at the moment, but yeah, I definitely work weekly on a variety of stories to air.
Okay. And as a student, you worked on some projects as well, too. Why don't you tell us a little about those, some of the things that you've done?
Oh, so long ago. No, most of the work that I did that just stands out was with my internship with Milwaukee Neighborhood News Service, which it's a completely online media outlet, and it's on Marquette's campus in the communications building. And that was really my first opportunity to actually go into the Milwaukee community and report on different events that were going on. And one specifically that stood out to me, I did the father-daughter dance. I forget what year it was, but it's been going on for a long time. And that was probably my favorite, just because to see the importance of a father's presence in their daughter's lives. And I'm a daddy's girl. So, the whole time I'm like, man, I wish I was here with my dad, But that was probably one of my favorites. So, but all the projects were just definitely getting me prepared to be a reporter, like actually going out and getting contacts on my own and, covering photos, video, everything. So I definitely, it was a lot that I did on my own, because I know people can't hold your hand as a reporter. You have to go out there and get it yourself. So that was a great experience for me.
Fantastic. So, what are you looking forward to throughout this year as a fellowship recipient?
Definitely the opportunities to network with a lot of people across city leaders, other reporters just across Milwaukee, just so if I did decide to leave Milwaukee after the fellowship, if an opportunity presented itself, I'd have those contacts. But definitely, like I said, proving myself, showing that I have a good journalistic ability to do my job. And, I'm looking to get into some serious issues,
LaToya, it seems that print media and the forms in which it's delivered has greatly changed over the last probably 15 years. Are there still, it sounds as though there's still a lot of students or individuals interested in that field, but are opportunities diminishing for print reporting?
They are, but they're still available, but it's a lot less than what there used to be, which is why I like to tell students and young people to look at your options, right? One, there's this whole, I won't even say new thing, right? But there's this world out there of the internet, the interwebs, in which you can do a lot, and there are a lot of news organizations, such as the Milwaukee Neighborhood News Service, which is strictly online, that are doing great work. And then there's public radio, the medium that I absolutely love, where there are tons of opportunities right now. It's just that not a lot of people know about us, especially a lot of people of color.
Oh, I've heard some very good reports on NPR.
Yeah, thank you.
And is NPR, what I don't know is about the various venues that people can find NPR. It's usually an AM. Isn't it position?
No,
or is it
most
on,
NPR stations are FM stations.
they're FM
yeah,
stations.
Yeah.
But they're not, are they on Sirius Radio or some of the pay internet?
You can find National Public Radio on some of those pay for subscription networks. You don't get the local content, which is why we always say tune in to 89.7 FM, and you also get your local content as well as your national content there. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is a good station. Would you please repeat the call numbers?
89.7 FM.
There you go. Okay. No, you've had some very good reports on
Thank you.
that station. That is one of the stations I personally have enjoyed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you went from print to radio at this point. And are you finding there's a big difference?
Not at all, because even with having stories for air, you still have to have I'm sorry, not a print, but you have to have a story to accompany that. So I'm still using everything I learned from trying to be a print journalist. So there's not really a big difference. People still have to read the story.
Okay, all right. Except that your delivery is verbal.
Right.
And that delivery has to be rather smooth.
It does. I'm definitely still trying to find that radio voice, but I think I'm on the right track. My coworkers tell me I have a good voice, so they've been doing it longer than me, so I'm like, okay, I trust you.
It was one of the things that stood out about Teran in her phone interview. We hung up the phone and said, she sounds great. Like, can I have her voice? So yeah.
So I think when I'm actually reading the scripts to prepare for air, with that I worked at Fox 6 and I would hear the anchors preparing their stories, I think I kind of have that in the back of my head for how I want to sound. So that helps as well. Just like with the different intonations that they use.
Yeah.
That helps me a little bit.
I remember interviewing with Eric in the past when he was at 1290. And I remember feeling very uncomfortable because I had no idea who was listening to what I was saying or who would come up to me and at some point and mention something I said, correct me in some way. It was just, so I envy the two of you for being comfortable in doing that.
You know what I love about radio is that you have anonymity. No one knows what you look like.
No, but they remember voices.
They do. I've been stopped a few places, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Okay, okay. But for those who take a lot of interest in what you're saying, they'll seek you out.
Oh, they do. Emails, calls, whatever. They find us.
Twitter
Yes.
being all the rage
Yeah.
these days. So, okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Learning is about more than just numbers and letters. Social and Emotional Learning, or SEL, teaches kids how to handle emotions, set goals, and make good decisions. Social awareness includes the ability to understand others from diverse backgrounds and cultures. Being able to respectfully acknowledge differences helps kids manage how they relate to others. Try this. Have children make a list of all the ways they are different from others. Then make a list of all the ways they are the same. Ask kids how recognizing our differences and similarities can make it easier to work together. Parents, caregivers, and teachers can ensure that social and emotional learning is part of a child's overall health and well-being. To find out more, visit First Book at firstbook.org/SEL. First Book is a nonprofit organization providing all children with equal access to the books and resources they need to succeed.
Welcome back. We are always talking about the differences in the delivery of information to the public. Sometimes it's a commentator, sometimes it's a journalist, a professional. LaToya, with radio, I'm not sure how many people realize the difference between a journalist and a commentator. Would you describe that for us?
Yeah, basically I would say it's quite easy. Journalists, our work should and often is, and at least mine, is always based in fact and reality, right? And so I'm not inserting my opinion into anything. I'm telling you what's happening. I'm telling you how people believe it could impact you in your life and why you should care, but I'm not telling you exactly what you should think about it. And I'm not telling you what I think about it. And I think that's the role of a reporter.
a journalist, a reporter, someone who's trained
Yes.
Professionally for
Yes.
that. And what about a commentator?
You know, a commentator can tell you whatever they feel like telling you, right? A lot of it is their opinion. And, you know, who knows what's forming their opinion or why they have the opinion that they have, but that's what commentators give you.
Now, on local radio, we have commentators, some people that are commentators, and then we have some who are journalists and who reference facts and such in their discussion. Their opinion might be interjected, but not pushed, all right? Does NPR have commentators?
NPR has, I'm not sure, I don't think they call them commentators. But I mean, they do have people who come in, and it's very clear that they're not reporters, though. So that's made clear from the onset that they're not reporters, that they are people who are biased in some way, and they're usually they're talking about that issue. But you know the difference. I think those lines are clearly drawn.
Reporters generally, if I'm not mistaken, will refer to their sources, not give names of people who tell them things, but if they're referencing a document or they're referencing a bill or something of that nature, they do identify their source. Whereas commentators, it seems, generally don't reference legitimate sources, so to speak, or factual sources where people can go and see the information for themselves. Is that?
Well, I guess it depends on what you deem legitimate and factual, because that all comes from your perspective and what you believe, right? But I would say you get more opinion than anything, and their opinion could be based on whatever source they're listening to, for sure, but you're getting their opinion.
In hearing some commentators compared to journalists, I will say that the inflections in the voice, the drama delivery, all of that seems to be there with commentators, more like they're acting than really delivering information.
You see a lot of that on television, for sure.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I thought radio, that might be the case as well, or no?
You don't really get that in public radio. You might get more of it in talk radio, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but not, not public radio, national public radio.
Okay. Yeah. Teran, did I say that correct?
Yes.
All right. That's a lovely name, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
Named after my dad.
Oh, really?
He's Terrence.
Okay. All right. Tell me, when you were looking at your career field, what prompted you to journalism?
I've just always had a passion for storytelling, just writing in general. I used to write short stories as a kid, poems, song lyrics, so I've just always had that way to express myself. I didn't really, until I got to college, look at it like, okay, where are the jobs in this field? Because obviously that's when it matters most. You're about to start your career. But, I stuck with journalism in school because I knew that's what I wanted to do. Never even thought about changing my major. So I always knew that I wanted to stick with it. It's something about it. Wanting to tell people's stories, just telling the stories that matter as well, like for people who otherwise might not get that attention for those stories. That's what drives my passion for storytelling and journalism.
A few of the other reporters I've known that worked with the Journal Sentinel, their description was they had, similar to yours, they had a passion for writing. They just had to write. That was part of who they are. And that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's innate for you. But then again, there's a big difference in writing style between poems or short stories and journalistic reports. one does involve personal emotion. The other, I suppose, could, but in a controlled way. Would you describe it that way?
Well, I think the fact that writing was so important to me, and just knowing that I had stories to tell, it made me feel as though I need to be the one helping other people tell those stories. So that's why I kind of don't really find a difference in it in that way. So, you know, it's hard to explain for me, I guess. It's just, I know I'm supposed to be doing it and I want to do it.
Okay. So whether it's on the internet or it's in print, on paper,
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's just being able to deliver that information.
Yeah, and I do know there's a fine line, you know, because I did the blogging for a while, so I know trying to keep your opinion out of things is very hard. So that's just, being objective is something that I'm still working with each and every day, because I know I want to be the person that tells stories. So I know I need to represent every side. So I guess in that way there's a difference. But
Yeah. And I've noticed, I mean, with all due respect, with journalism, there are ways in which opinions can be interjected. Tone of voice, if it's in print, the way the wording is delivered.
You know, it's even in the story that you decide to tell. Right? We all have our biases, and we all have things that interest us for whatever reasons that they interest us. So, I mean, is my reporting unbiased? Yes, but I choose stories because I'm interested in them. So, that says something, right? Yeah.
Well, but controlling one's emotions is something in and of
Oh, for sure.
itself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
my opinion does not make it into my
Yeah.
stories. It just doesn't.
Yeah. And anybody who goes into journalism, whether that's television, radio, or print, would have to be able to control their personal emotions well enough to deliver what appeared to be an unbiased story.
Yes.
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 Does that has that through your training years at Marquette, has that caused any difficulty for you?
I don't think it has, just because I know there's a level of professionalism that you have to have. So, you know, they teach you to look for little words that say, okay, that's leaning toward this way, you have to say it this way. So it doesn't make people seem like you're picking a side. So Marquette the journalism program did a good job of telling you, like, no, bring it back this way. So you're representing all sides, you're sounding fair. And they want you in your field to be trustworthy, to know what you're talking about, and they want you to exert that.
As a college, did you enjoy Marquette?
It was definitely, because I'm from Chicago, I was thrown into a completely different kind of setting, just because it was a Catholic university. I mean, I went to Catholic schools as a child, but public high school, and then to come to Catholic university, predominantly white university, so that was an adjustment as well. But I wouldn't change my experiences at all, because I learned a lot of how to deal with different types of people. I learned a lot about myself, so very valuable experiences.
That's very positive.
Yeah.
Terrific. I can see why she was selected.
Me too. Yeah.
And from a national application process, I had no idea that it was that broad. I thought it was for the Milwaukee area. I should have known better.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Props to Marquette for looking out even after you graduate. You have that relationship with professors, they'll look out for you.
That's good. See, that's really good to know too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of local students who've selected Marquette as their college. Actually, my daughter was one of them, now that I think about it. And so it really provided a lot of support for you.
Yeah, I would say in, whatever field you decide to go in, definitely find somebody to create that relationship with so you can have that even, when you graduate.
Yeah.
You can always look back, make a phone call, need some help. Marquette is good about that.
As a journalist major, did you, because you mentioned the instructor that let you know about this fellowship, contacted you because maybe she liked your radio presentation through one of the classes. So is it that individuals have an opportunity to experience radio, television, and print, even if your primary focus is print?
Yeah, just anything, the communication school in itself, like there's a Marquette television for people who are interested in broadcast. There's a radio station there if you're interested in that. People that work on a newspaper, it's just anything that you're interested in, you can find it in the communication school, probably in any school, but I know about the communications. All those resources were there, professors who've worked in those fields, so it's definitely a lot that you can look into.
But it was a student, it was your choice to experience the radio classes? Or it wasn't a requirement is what I'm trying to ask.
No, it wasn't a requirement. I mean, of course, there are required courses that you have to take for your major, but once you get up in grade, you can choose from different categories. I chose writing for radio, so that's how. And I had Barbara as my journalism boot camp one professor my freshman year. So being used to her, I just decided that I'd take her class again.
Okay, all right. Now, LaToya, where did you go to college?
I am a graduate of Michigan State University. Go Green.
Well, people could think Go Green means Packers too.
Well, they could.
Okay.
Yes.
And so was your experience a lot different than what Teran is describing?
No, Teran and I had a very similar experience. I mean, there were certain classes, like there was a radio class that was required for my major. I didn't want to do radio. I thought I was going to do television news, but yeah, I mean, you can get experience. There are student newspapers, student radio stations. There are classes that teach multimedia journalism and computer reporting. You can find anything you're looking for.
You thought you were going to do television rather than radio. What directed you to radio?
This story. I say public radio chose me. I didn't choose it because truthfully, I didn't become a journalism major until my junior year.
Okay.
I was a science major and I was going to med school until I decided I hated life. Okay. And it's like, I'm not someone who could wake up and do something every single day that I hate. And so I said, well, what do you like? I loved telling stories, but I didn't know about public radio. I didn't grow up listening to public radio. And so I knew I wanted to be like a broadcast person. I didn't want to go into print. And so I said, well, television it is. Until I was graduating with my undergrad degree, and I was going right into graduate school because I needed more time to prepare for this career in journalism. And there was an opening for a public radio student position at the public radio station at Michigan State. And I said, I'm tired of working in retail. It'll be a resume builder. And I fell in love. I fell in love with public radio and the types of stories that I get to tell and the people I get to meet and the amount of time I get to tell the stories. So here I am.
Well, how long have you been with WUWM?
Oh, a long time now. No, I just celebrated my 11-year anniversary.
Oh my God.
So yeah, a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have had 11 years.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kinds of stories do you report on?
I am a general assignment reporter, so I'd like to say I can talk to you about anything.
Okay.
Just don't dig too deep, right? Unless I'm reporting on that story at that time. And then I retain the information for that story. But I do so many of them that, I forget a lot of stuff.
And what kind of reports are you interested in doing, Teran?
Oh, there's so many. No, from my experience with the Milwaukee Neighborhood News Service, I definitely enjoyed going out into the community, so doing all of those community stories, issues that are affecting people directly. Those are the kind of things that I steer toward. I wouldn't say I'm general assignment so much, but there's a different variety of stories that I've been covering so far, things that our news director has sent my way, like, oh, are you interested in these? So definitely the fellowship, whereas the news director might send things my way, it's open for me to bring things that I think are important as well.
Okay. You both have really accomplished a lot, and I can see that you bring a lot of substance to our community, which is really terrific.
Thank you.
Yes. Teran, I can honestly say that it's a pleasure to meet you and to learn more about you.
Thank you. No, this having this opportunity, I've been on a media tour. That's what we joke about in the newsroom, but it's definitely putting a lot more attention on me than I'm used to. But I'm grateful for it, just because it's exposing me to a lot of different people, and even the colleagues of Eric Vaughn. You know, the few that I've met, you know, they're just like so excited about the fellowship itself, and then they're rooting for me. So even though I feel like there's this pressure just following his legacy in general, I know that they support me and they're there if I need them. So
I can understand the pressure. Eric accomplished a lot. Just remember, he did have a few more years on you to do it.
Sure.
So, it seems, and with you being the first, and with WUWM creating this fellowship, this honor to Eric's name and his work, is you've got to have a lot of attention on you. There's no getting around that. You're the first, and you're a female. So,
yeah.
Bravo.
I mean, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything. So I'll take what I got.
Well, it's good that you're grateful, but I think you're deserving. I think you have applied yourself, and you have a very positive attitude. And I'm going to have to listen in for some of your stories. Yes. What time do you come on?
Oh, so early. No.
Oh, well, I won't hear you
No,
then.
I was telling Annalise, our news director, last Friday was the first time I was actually up early enough to hear it air. But it's usually 6 a.m., the later hours of 6 a.m., and between 8, it's too early for me.
6 a.m.?
Yeah, between 6 a.m., 8 a.m., that's usually, I'll be in there somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
times change.
You must be doing all right, because
Yeah.
I'm not hearing LaToya say, oh, we're so disappointed.
We're very happy with our choice.
Yes.
So even though it's early, and I do understand that part, I'm not a morning person either.
Me either.
No,
But,
but at least you're able to articulate yourself, whether
Thank
it's your time of day or not. So, all right. I want to thank both of you for joining us. I really have learned a lot, and it has been a pleasure to get to know more about you.
Thank
you for having us. Yeah.
For the viewers, I really hope that you've learned more about the field of journalism, about the importance of telling stories, about the quality of people that we're fortunate to have here. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great life.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? In the meantime, right there, right
An MCM production.